The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual guests. If you're a sensitive snowflake that may get easily offended, then turn this off immediately. If you want to hear the real truth about the gun culture, then stick around. This is the Armed Citizen Podcast. What's going on, my Go Squad? Welcome to the Armed Citizen Podcast Live. This is episode number 140 on YouTube. We'll take the audio from this, rip it, and you'll always be able to watch this and replay, but we'll also put this on all of your favorite podcasting and all of Gunstream. We'll put it all on all of them, but if you're watching live, then we're going to have a great show tonight. If you're out there in the live chat, please go ahead and say hello. We don't know you're out there unless you say hello. If you're new to the channel, new to the show, then let us know where you're from, because we won't know unless you let us know that you're new. So if you're watching in replay, God bless you. Watching a podcast and replay is sometimes not the best thing, but if you're watching, fantastic. And if you're listening to podcasts, the conversation does not have to end right here. Utilize those comment sections below, and we can answer questions. If you have a question for Will, we'll make sure that we get those questions to him as well. If you're watching live and you want to ask a question, make sure you tag myself or Clover, and we'll try to get to talk some awesome stuff. So we'll get some questions in. You can also text them or call them into the Ghost Tactical Hotline presented by the Gun Cleaners at 530-364-4678. This episode is brought to you by our great friends at Sportsman's Guide. If you're looking for anything that has to do with the outdoors, whether it's shooting, hunting, fishing, camping, any of that stuff, and you're looking for gear that help you out, go check out our friends over at Sportsman's Guide. They're great friends of the channel, great friends of the podcast. We really appreciate it. And we're going to bring in our kind of quasi co-host real quick from the great state of Texas, the tactical virus, Leprechaun. What's up, Clover? How you doing, man?
I am well excited for this one. Excited to talk with Will, and
I don't know if he's muted or not.
Hear about Cairo. Can nobody hear me?
So we'll come back to Clover here in a minute, but
I get you.
I don't know what's going on with Clover, but we'll figure it out. Our special guest tonight is a true hero, and we don't throw that word around here loosely. We like to make fun of the squids a little bit, but any of the team guys, we got to know is SEAL Team 6, and I know that it's not SEAL Team 6. We'll probably go into that a little bit, but Dev Grew, he was with the Bin Laden raid, and this guy was there, and this guy is one of the true greats out there. More importantly, he's a dog handler, the Canine handler for the teams back in the day, and you guys have probably heard of Cairo, and this was the handler of Cairo, and he's wrote a book called No Ordinary Dog, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. And let's see here. He's saying that, okay, Clover, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Okay, is it still lagging out there? I can't tell. I can't see anything on my side. Hopefully it's
not lagging now, but it gets that way every now and then. You were lagging pretty bad when you said you couldn't hear me.
Okay, well, we'll figure it out. Hopefully it works out. Okay.
I just won't talk much.
All right, sounds good. So I want to bring our special guest, Will Chesney. How you doing, Will? And thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate you.
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me on. How are you?
No problem. So I want to kind of talk a little bit first about Cairo. And Cairo is the famous dog, and I guess he's probably, I don't know, do you think he's probably the most famous of the team dogs, the working dogs, since he was on, Neptune Spear? Is that kind of how it goes with him?
Yes, he's one of them, but he's not the only one.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Yeah, it's just I think that's the one that's kind of got a lot of attention. But I read your book, I listened to the book. I listened to the audio book, and it's phenomenal. And if you listen to the audio book, it's actually Will doing the audiobook. So it's pretty cool. So it's kind of get that flavor of the first person. But, it's kind of going into this, what kind of got you in the idea of writing the book?
Well, Cairo's name was released in the media pretty soon after the mission happened. I think that was the only name that was released. Over the years, there were just some things that weren't completely accurate. What we did was a big piece of history. Joining the military, I read books. I watched movies before going in, and we all did. Most guys did. Maybe there's a few that didn't, but eventually I never thought I would, and then eventually I just kind of came to the realization that it is a large piece of history, and I want to tell my dog story. I love Cairo. I'm pretty biased, but I think a lot of people love Cairo. He really was a good dog. We're very fortunate. We got to do some great things. Large piece of history. And when I saw the fake things out there, not fake, but not so accurate, figured we might as well tell a story. In the process of telling a story, I can bring attention to just how amazing these dogs are. I mean, just the things that they have done for us is crazy. We're just one dog team that happened to be chosen for the one mission. There's a lot of other guys out there that did a lot more than me, and there's a lot of dog stories out there that are amazing as well. But I can bring a little bit of attention to that and tell one of those stories. It brings attention to when people hear those stories, it brings attention to the foundations that some of my teammates have started, like my buddy Jimmy Hatch and Spike's Canine Fund, doing some amazing thing. Mike Ritland, John Devine. All those guys running great foundations. I can bring a little bit of attention to those guys. Great. Those dogs deserve it. They're doing really good things for those dogs. And they deserve it. Not only that, I know a little bit about my own personal story, and we get into that as well. So that was kind of the whole reasoning behind writing the book, and going through that, and helping some people with my own personal story too.
Yeah, and we're going to maybe talk a little bit about the mental health side. I know that you've been a big advocate of making sure that veterans are getting taken care of mentally and all that. And so we'll talk about that a little bit as well. But you brought up Spike's Canine Fund. And so what we're going to do, I was talking with Will before the show, and what we're going to do, guys, is I want to bring up already, there's a $2 super chat by Mandatory Carry. He was out there a little while ago, said he had to go, sent $2 super chat. What we're going to do tonight is all the super chats that generate through here, we're going to donate to Spike's Canine Fund. And that's one of his, I guess he was a teammate and is doing some good work with dogs. So all super chats are going to go to Spike's Canine Fund. So let's help them out as much as we can. Hey, we're not asking you to give any money you don't have. Sure as hell not going to ask you any money to go not feed your family. But if you've got a buck here or two, go buy a soda for one of these dog handlers and all that. We're definitely going to send money their way. And I think that Clover dropped the link out there. So, yep, Spike's Canine Fund out there. Go check that out as well. Don't check it out right now. Check it out later because we got some stuff we want to talk to.
Talk about Cairo, but I appreciate that. It was actually the anniversary of when the guy who runs at Jimmy Hatch got shot not too long ago, and a dog got shot in the head named Rimco, saving his life. And, some other, so it's that anniversary just wasn't too long ago. I appreciate it. Thanks for doing that.
Hey, no problem, man. And that's one of those things that I don't think that people quite understand is, yes, they're dogs, but they are teammates. Listening to you talk and when I say read the book, I'm going to say that I listened to it, but I'm a Marine dude. I can't read too well, but
dude, I'm the same book.
Listening to the book and reading the book, it's obvious that these dogs are their actual teammates. And I know that there was a mission that you guys went on that I know that there was a little disappointment that I think it was Cairo, was it your first dog, but one of the dogs didn't get the medal that the rest of the squadron or the platoon got. So I love the fact that you took it very seriously, that this is, and everyone thought, hey, this is not just a dog. This is part of our team. So when we talk about canine handling, and I know that you said that you've always kind of grew up around dogs, but you never had any really formal training. When you talk about going into the SF world, being a canine handler, I don't want to give too much of the book away because you guys got to go read it, but part of it, you guys have specific maybe places that you bring the dogs in that are trained. when they are brought in, how much work do you guys have to? How long before it actually goes on its first mission and all that before you get it to the time you guys are going out there together?
All depends on the dog. Every dog's different, like every person. We have good trainers that go overseas and people that select the dogs and bring them back. And, being a SEAL, you go through a selection process. If anybody hasn't heard, it's called BUDS, Basic Underwater Demolition SEAL Training. It's pretty tough. There's a lot of stuff on it out there. The dogs go through their own little SEAL training program as well. And if they make it through that, then we start. I mean, the training never ends. You're always, it's consistent.
You're always working up for something.
What's that?
You're always working up for something. There's always a workup for something.
Always something. I mean, like my dog might be better at explosive odor, and your dog might be better at tracking or something. And so I got to put more work into that. Your dog's different. Got to put more work into that. I mean, Cairo was perfect, right? He had no work. I didn't even have to train him at all. I'm just kidding.
Right. Gun loving grandpa up there, $10. Help the Canines. Appreciate you, Buck. We'll thank you so much, brother. And I think it's interesting because I know that you were hesitant at first about deciding whether or not you want to be the handler because you knew at that point you had to be a SEAL, but you also had this extra added duty and responsibility on. Can you kind of go through that process of deciding what made that decision the right decision to go ahead and be the handler?
So when you become a SEAL, you have other jobs, responsibilities. You would be sniped. I was drawn to being a SEAL. I would have done whatever it took to make it, unless I was physically injured or whatever. Once you're there, you just kind of, what are you interested in? Skydiving, breaching, sniping. You just kind of make yourself more available to that area. I saw how valuable the dogs were. I saw a little demonstration early in my career. Didn't really comprehend. It was just a small, quick demonstration, which it covers in the book. And then once I got to my squadron and I went and deployed and I saw it in real life, how valuable the dogs were. It was, I was always a dog guy growing up, loved dogs. I wanted to make myself more valuable. Like my buddy Jimmy says, you're either an asset or a liability. I wanted to go work. I worked my ass off to get through BUDS and be there. I love my guys. I wanted to work as much as possible. I wanted to make myself as valuable as possible. And since I love dogs and I saw how valuable they were, they literally saved lives over and over again. And there's a saying in the book, I remember being in the team room once and like, hey, raise your hand if a dog's ever saved your life. And just everybody's hand pretty much went up. It was like pretty crazy to see. And most guys said, you could sit there and tell dog stories all day long about this and that. And, that's just our group. I saw you had old Mike Glover on here. And
Glover. Yeah, he was on a few weeks ago. Yeah.
His podcast, and he was telling me the story about his dog, and I mean, like literally goosebumps. Like it's crazy, and that's his group of guys. And I think that's what drew me in. I listened to him on yours as well, and I think me and Mike were quite a bit alike, except I drank way too much.
No, I hear you.
Smart man, he didn't booze it up as much. But I think we sound a lot alike. What's that?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I said we sound a lot alike. He was very passionate about his job. We all were. I wanted to be there, wanted to do my job. So I love dogs. That looked like a cool job. And not everybody wanted to babysit a dog sometimes. It's a big responsibility. You're not always working with the dog too. And if you're not, you got to kind of watch the dog, and other people are off doing fun stuff. And you're like, shit, I'm stuck here with the dog.
Exactly.
So, but if I if I had the one opportunity to get a fine that saved one life, one of my guys from getting hurt, injured, killed, it's perfect. It's extra work that I'd love to dedicate my time into, and it's something I was interested in because I love dogs. So I guess long story short, that's it.
No, I hear you. Big shout out to Clover. He put $20 out there, said stepping it up for the pups. The gauntlet is down, guys. Come on. So Clover is throwing the gauntlet down, the $20 chat. It's interesting. I don't want to go into a whole lot about the whole BUDS because I'm sure you get asked that every place you go. But I want to ask a question instead of saying, because I know the answer to the first one. The first question that I have some emails that were sent saying, hey, can you ask this? And one of them was, did you ever, through BUDS, ever think that this wasn't worth it. And I'm thinking he wouldn't have made it if that ever crossed his mind. So I'm not going to ask that one. But I will say this. I will ask this. Do you remember a specific time when you said, "Holy hell, this is like the craziest part of Buds"? Was it Hell Week or what was it?
Well, Hell Week was crazy. It's the best sleep I've ever had in my entire life. You want to push yourself to the limit, you go try Hell Week. That's a good way to test yourself. I wasn't a fast swimmer. I was pretty comfortable in the water. I was just slow, but real comfortable. So
yeah.
Ocean swims. I could run those 4 mile time runs all day long. I don't know, guys make fun of me. I had a pretty big ass and like, dude, how do you run so fast? They'd get mad at me. But when it came to the water, I was slow. We did a 5.5 mile, a nautical mile ocean swim in Buds. That was the second best sleep I've ever gotten in my life. Not a big swim. That was me and my swim buddy. We had, we put out and we had fun out there. We got to swim with a seal or a sea lion through the kelp beds.
A real seal, like the animal seal, not yeah.
Two wannabe seals were swimming with a real seal. It was pretty cool. He was following us. We would chase him. We would chase off. So we did mess around a little bit. I swear I didn't know the thing was timed. And whatever. I was an 18-year-old kid. Maybe I wasn't paying too much attention.
I understand.
At the end,
that was one of the best stories that they're in the book. 100%. That was the greatest part. Well, not the greatest, but as far as the Buds part of the book, that was the best story you told in the book. I love this.
So the swim was great. We got it done, but the crossing the finish line, like you didn't complete the time. My buddy looked up like, well, what time? There's not a time, but cool. We're doing it again tomorrow is what we were told. And like I said, we went back and got some sleep. And I remember thinking like, holy shit, that was some good sleep. Besides Hell Week, it's the best sleep I've ever gotten. But I was pretty sore the next morning, and it's like another 5.5 miles. I was like, oh man, that was probably the one time where I was like, okay. It wasn't that I was going to quit. I was just going to get out there and kick until my body gave up. I just didn't physically think. I mean, we would have done it. I just was like, all right, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to just do it. And then until my legs will probably lock up and you'll just come get me. But so you do your inspection, pre-inspection, everybody's very safe. What we're doing is pretty dangerous stuff. So the instructors are always safe. You're doing safety inspection, all your equipment, doing that. We do that, get in the water. As we're getting in the water, I lose one of my fins.
So right off the bat too, wasn't it? It's like right off the bat.
Right off the bat. The one time out of all the times we did ocean swims, we were in the ocean a few times. We did a few swim. Out of all those times, I lose it on that one. I didn't say anything. I told my swim buddy, I'm like, oh man, I'm like, hey buddy, I lost my fin, so we're gonna figure this out. And I just planned on, I'm not telling the instructors. We're just gonna get out there and do it until hopefully I find a fin out there. On the way out through the surf zone, the instructors called us back in. I was like, oh, thank God.
I guess, weren't they?
What's that?
They were just fucking with you, right?
Yeah, they were fucking with us real good. You got me good, you fucker. That was a good. Those instructors, they're just like, that's. Everybody's a comedian. I'd say pretty much every team guy's a comedian. You got your couple guys here and there, but it's how we get through basically the hard times. It's everything sucks, and then we all play grab ass, and it's jokes. And everybody's a comedian, and the instructors are comedians too. Oh, yeah. And that was a good one, man. And but one of my best friends, Jared Shaw, on the way in, I was just happy that the swim got canceled. I didn't care. I lost my fin. I'll figure that out later. On the way in, I see my buddy's like, I found a fin. He handed it to me. So it actually ended up being a real good day. I remember right after that, I was pretty happy. We didn't have to do the swim. I was pretty happy my buddy found my swim fin. I still owe him for that. Thanks, buddy. And it's just such a good feeling. Every morning we would say the Pledge of Allegiance, and we would all get together, raise the flag, and do all that stuff. And it was just like, it was beautiful out there where we were at, and it was a good day. It's a good day in Buck.
Awesome.
Training too, so obviously, getting close to the end is feeling pretty good too.
Right. Nighthawk out there, $25 super chat. He says, just watching Will's face when he talks about the dog shows his love and respect for him. Absolutely. No doubt about that. And Ninja Scout out there says $10 for the doggies. Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you both. Like I said, we're going to go through this. And there was a question out there that I want to bring up. Our good friend of ours for the channel, a big supporter channel and all of that. His dog was hit over the last few days, and there's a big fundraiser. We're trying to get help to take care of some of the medical bills for the dog. His name was Joe. And so he's out there, and he says, Ghost, I missed the beginning, but I know a little of the backstory. What is the focus of Spike's program? And thank you for helping my pup. You're welcome, Pete. Appreciate you guys. I'll help as much as I can. I can't help as much as others, but I'll do my best. But we all want to kind of let you talk before we move on about maybe what Spike's Canine Fund kind of what their purpose is real quick.
Yeah. Jimmy's a great man, great person, period. He overseas accidentally shot his dog Spike while engaging a bad guy. It's foundation is dedicated to Spike. Now that Jimmy's retired, like I said, he was saved by a dog. It was Mike Toussaint's dog named Remco. Sacrificed his life saving Jimmy. Jimmy ended up getting shot really bad, ended his career, but now Jimmy gives back by providing ballistic vests for the dogs.
Nice.
For canines, police canines a lot of time, and he also does medical care for dogs that need assistance as well. And I'm sure he does a lot of other things as well. That's the quick breakdown, and just I can't express how good of a man Jimmy is.
Yeah, well, like I said, guys, awesome. Spike's Canine Fund. Clover put the link up there, and all super chats from tonight's show are going to be donated to Spike Canine Fund. Clover, I know there was a question out there from maybe Budget. You want to bring that up?
Yeah, I can. I actually had one too. So.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, go for it.
That works out. So yeah, Budget was asking, are there specific breeds that are used for the canines?
For us, there are. We use the Belgian Malinois, Dutch Shepherds mostly, but law enforcement can use just German Shepherds. We like the Mals because they're a little smaller. The Shepherds can get up to 120 pounds sometimes. Their hair's longer. We work in hot environments a lot. The Mals have shorter hair. They might be able to get in smaller spaces. They're a little more agile, but they're both just as smart. They're both great working dogs. I mean, I think for the police, having a 120-pound dog come at you if you don't need it to get overheated, that's a big dog. For us, the Mals, they have a lot of fight in them too. They're real smart. But I mean, what's the job the dog's going to go do? For hunting dogs, you're going to want a lab, sled dogs, you want huskies and stuff like that. And just every dog is different. For us, it was the Malinois. Smart, capable, lots of energy, man. I got 2 right now. It's keeping me busy, but that's a good thing. Sometimes too.
Now with the dogs, with the canine units, is there a hierarchy or a rank with them like there are with the humans?
Yeah, I mean, we're the dads though. They know they're part of the pack.
Well, I mean, amongst the dogs themselves, or do you have different canines that are higher level or ranking than others?
No, you have every dog's the same. Every dog has his handler. He's dad. Everybody else is his uncle. That's the team. And then in that hierarchy, there's some dogs that we do let work together if they're okay to work together, but we mostly keep them separated. Mm-hmm. Some guys will push it, but in the kennel, you just know which dogs work. Like some dogs have more problems than others. Let's be honest, they were just like people. I mean, I wasn't the best SEAL in my team by far. Let's just be honest about it. In the kennel, you have your dogs like Cairo and a few others. They were like, if I were to get shot, somebody could pick up the leash and take Cairo and probably no problems. He was just one of those. Some dogs might be a little bit more of an asshole. You might pick up that leash and you better be careful, know what you're doing. He's going to bite you or he might not listen to you. I don't know, just different dogs, different temperaments. But I guess if that answers your question.
Yeah.
A quick thing about Guitar Man Pete, we had a little fundraiser for him. We were looking to raise 2,200, and I want to say thank you everybody out there. They reached the goal. They're over 2,200 at this point. That's going to help Pete get quality care for Joe and all of that. So if you were one of the people out there that donated to that, thank you, and I'm sure Pete appreciates it and all that. But thank you so much for helping out with that. That was awesome. We got $2,200 raised, and I mean, a few days. So fantastic. Now you were talking about, which is interesting because it's part of the book that I love. So you guys, you did several deployments with Cairo, and then the time came when you were going to be separated. And that's just kind of the way it happens. You can't be together the whole time. And then all of a sudden you're at Jumpmaster School and you get this call. And so I don't want to go in too much, as I know a lot of it can't be talked about with Neptune Spear and the Bin Laden raid, but that's, like you said earlier, that's part of history, and especially with Cairo. How did that process happen when you were doing another school and all of a sudden, I don't think people realize SEAL Team 6 or DevGuru, whatever you guys called. I know you call it SEAL Team blank in the book, but whatever you guys call it internally, it doesn't matter because I know you guys can't talk about that. But, people know it as 6. But when they don't realize there's not just like one team, it's a squadron. There's multiple teams inside this squadron. So do they handpicked like the best of the best for specific missions? How did it feel when you found out finally that you and Cairo were picked for what now goes down as the greatest military op probably ever?
Just felt very lucky. I mean, I'm not just saying this. I honestly was surrounded by some amazing men. The only reason I was picked for that mission was because of Cairo. No doubt about it. So when I found out, it was just an honor to be able to be part of the mission. How that whole process happened was we just returned home from deployment. Cairo was a great working dog. They knew his abilities. They knew my abilities as well. I'm not trying to downplay myself. I'm just saying it is what it is. We just got returned from deployment. We were fresh. I was at a school with one of my best friends. His name is Nick Check. He sacrificed his life saving an American hostage. He's a great man too. I was at school with him. I got the call to, I think the flight was already booked. It's at this so-and-so time, check out, and we'll see you in the morning. And grab Cairo. I'm 20-something years old. Being a SEAL was my entire life. With that job, just being a SEAL period, you're fairly busy. It's not just a job, it's your life. It was my life. That was my family. It was everything. So it was nothing normal or nothing unnormal to have my boss call and say, hey, jump on a plane, something's going on. I don't have anything else going on besides the school. So, okay. I expected it to be something cool no matter what it is. I don't care. I'm going to get to go hang out with my friends anyways and go hopefully do something cool. So
at the time, I think it's interesting because at the time you weren't working with Cairo. So when he says grab Cairo, you probably knew something was probably going on, right? Because you weren't with him at that point.
Definitely. Knew something was going on. I hope it's cool. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'm 20-something years old. My job is awesome. I love my job. I love what we do. I'm going to go do what my boss says. I'm going to go check out the school. So I go back and I see my buddy Nick and I'm like, hey, dude, we got to go home. And Nick's like, no, I'm not. I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't get a call. I'm like, okay. That's weird because, I say this again, Nick was an amazing guy. I'm like, it's just weird that they're calling me back and they're not calling you back. Probably, like, you're pretty badass. I don't know why they're calling me back. Not calling you because of Cairo. Okay, so they're calling me back because of Cairo. I tried to check out of the school, but it was a little difficult, and I was on a time crunch. Something important was going on. My boss called, said to get back. I tried to check out. It wasn't going too
That's a great story also. That was awesome.
Pretty funny in the book. It goes into obviously more detail. It's like, I ended up just taking off and show up the next day. My buddy, I guess somebody had asked the next day, my buddy Nick decided to call me or text me or however. He's like, hey, they were asking where you went in class today, and I told everybody you quit. That was a good one. It's a good one. So
and I'll say that's something that most guys are not going to quit, especially at school. So little friend having a little fun with you.
After school full of there. We were the only two SEALs there, and SEALs are kind of known for not quitting. So him saying the next day, like, "Oh yeah, he quit," and just he was a funny guy. I'm sure he didn't even crack a smile. Just dead serious. Yeah, he quit. So he headed home, picked up. What's that?
As he didn't think twice about throwing you under the bus.
Oh, not at all. No, he got me good. Yeah. I don't think I ever got him back for that one. At least not that good.
Yeah. Now, there are a couple great questions out here. Gun Loving Grandpa says, and you kind of go on this with the book and all that, but wants to know, can a trainer or handler get to keep the canine after time is served?
They can. You have to put in the proper paperwork. These dogs are working dogs. I was pretty lucky to get Cairo. People ask, like, what makes them so different? I mean, these are working animals that you're asking to, like, go into a room and fight somebody twice their size, bite somebody, get into a fight, skydive, fast rope. Like, caliber of that dog is a pretty high energy fighting dog, and to be able to come home, take your vest off, turn that switch off is what we say, and kind of be almost a family pet. It's pretty cool. Not all dogs have that, but at the end of the day, when these dogs get retired, you have to evaluate the dog's temperament and the home the dog is going to. Just like as I said earlier, they're different, just like every person. So, and every organization is different too. The Air Force handler program might have different rules than we do. Even in the SEAL, my team might have different rules than your team. We all abide by the rules, and every command has their selection process to make sure that it's not fair for the dog to go home if it's an somewhat aggressive dog, to send that dog home to a house full of kids, setting those kids up for failure, and the dog and everybody. So they do I'm assuming everybody does their due diligence. You assess the dog, the temperament of the dog, the handler, its abilities, what the home looks like. I mean, when I was assessed, there was a couple of other guys that wanted Cairo as well, because of course Cairo was an amazing dog. If I wasn't in the position to take him, not only if I was working as a SEAL, I wouldn't have been able to be home to take care of him. I was single. They wouldn't have given him to me, even no matter if he was my dog or not. It wouldn't have made any sense. In the book, it covers some of my traumatic brain injury and TBI, along with some other issues, drinking and issues I was experiencing. They needed to make sure I was in the right mental state to even care for an animal. But
right. Yeah.
I was, and having Cairo around was good for my mental state. And I had help with my girlfriend Natalie at the time to have Cairo around. And since I was going through a bunch of medical processes at the time, I was home, able to take care of him, and they saw that it was a good fit. And getting him home, it was great. I got to
right.
I mean, cancer sucks.
And I want to go into the way that he helped you through your demons and your dark times and all that in a minute. But another follow-up question, and before I ask this question, when I was in the Corps, my best friend was our canine guy, and when he got out, he was given the opportunity. Now, this is a long time. I'm old as fuck, so when he got out, he was given the opportunity to purchase Zeus, and I think it was like $5,000, which, in the grand scheme of things, the amount of money they put into these dogs, people have no idea. $5,000 is a steal for, and he ended up utilizing Zeus with doing some Blackwater contracting work, working for the UN and all of that. And Zeus obviously has passed away since, but he was able to utilize him. That parlays in this question about how long of service time can a canine be in active duty?
Cairo lasted about 9 years. Just depends on the dog and the injuries. Cairo was shot before the Bin Laden mission. He was shot through his chest and through his leg where they put a steel plate. And it wasn't even sure if he was going to recover from that, but he did. And you never know how long he's going to last from those injuries. And, there was other dogs that have been exposed to blasts and all kinds of other things. You never know. Some dogs get hip dysplasia, just depending. I think we receive most dogs in their 2 to 3 years, fairly trained, and then we train what we want and what we don't want in them. Training never stops, and then you just work the dog. They're members of our family. They're members of our team. They're members of our family. We don't just sacrifice them. We always take care of them best of our abilities. And if they last, Cairo lasted 9 years. It was a good dog. Some dogs last 4 from the last time. You just don't know. It just depends.
Yeah. So there's not a set time. If everything works out perfectly, no injuries and all that, it's not like, hey, they've got a 4-year enlistment or anything like that. It's what the dog can handle until it can't handle it, basically.
As far as we did, yeah. There might
be good
other places, but as far as us, yeah, Cairo was a great working dog, and even when he was starting to get older, he still makes a good spare dog. Unfortunately, these dogs get injured and killed quite often. To have a dog you can plug and play is nice to have, especially when they're saving their lives. So he worked for a long time.
Yeah. Clover, do you have anything you want to bring up or ask right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more of a comment, but I mean, we can follow up on it or whatever. But it's amazing how long Cairo was in there. That I wasn't expecting that. I was 4 years. Okay, maybe I was expecting it. So that gets me to thinking that the training programs, as far as breeding these dogs, training them, and all that has to be almost a 24/7, 365 gig to have dogs ready when one gets injured or it's time for one to retire or whatever the case may be, right?
Being a dog handler is an all-encompassing job, especially being a SEAL dog handler. Or we use mastered arm handlers who also, think about their learning curve, having to try to keep up with SEAL tactics, and they know dogs. They've handled dogs more than us, but the learning curve was a lot. We put in, I had my SEAL responsibilities that you have to be extremely proficient at, and then you also have you're training a dog to do all of that. And yes, and I say, when I say not Cairo worked 9 years, he was 9 years old when he retired. That's from puppy. I received him when he was 2 to 3, or we received him when he was 2 to 3. We retired him at 9. I guess he didn't work for 9 years.
That's crazy, though. Even the 6 years is crazy.
Yeah, still a long time. A lot of people don't last that long. So
yeah,
no.
Yeah, I barely did.
Yeah, I hear you. So I want to kind of talk a little bit now about which I think is awesome. When you're talking about, he was, and kind of what Clover was saying is he was a backup dog, so he was on deployments. He was ready to go just in case something happened. He was ready to go. So even when he wasn't the primary canine of that team, it's crazy to think that they were still out there and he was training and he was still being ready to go at a minute's notice. I'm not sure what this is. I got a text from somebody. I thought it was for the show, but it wasn't. Sorry about that. So I want to kind of talk about the transition. So you transitioned. You were medically retired from the Navy and from the teams. And like you said, you kind of went through some times, and then you had the opportunity to bring Cairo home. And we have a lot of veterans that watch this, and we have some guys that have had TBIs and have got PTSD and all of that encompasses. And it's just kind of great to have them tell their stories at times too. But I know that you've been very open, especially in the book, about your demons and how Cairo and Nala and your other dogs now, but how dogs in general kind of help bring you out of that darkness. And is there anything that you could talk to about people out there that might be struggling, that if they don't have a canine in their lives, that maybe that might help them?
Definitely, man. If you're a dog person, of course, that's why they have service dogs. A buddy of mine, that's Mark Simos, he just got himself a dog, and I can hear the emotion. He's just happy. I know that dog's going to bring joy to his life. I think if you're capable of taking care of the animal, capable of taking care of yourself and the animal, and you're a dog person, yeah. Even if not, having that responsibility, having that purpose can even just get you out of bed or something. But yeah, the service dogs are great. Having the dog when I'm frustrated, I learned a lot from the dogs. Even dog handling school, I went to Adler Horse, and that was one of the best courses I went to. Sniper school was amazing. That dog training course was amazing. So much you can learn from these animals, but they don't speak your language. You got to use your voice inflection and your emotions. They run up and down the leash. And for me, I'm a kind of quiet guy, so I learned patience, all that stuff. I learned quite a bit stuff. I guess I don't know. I kind of lost track and went off on a tangent there, but
No, it's good.
there's a lot of
No,
stuff.
I just brought them up in, and she did not want to be held very long. She's in that 11-week old where she likes to play. The energy is like, don't hold me too long, don't hold me back. So
Yeah.
interesting.
Doing the same, yeah. Oh, yeah, to bring it back, but yes, I definitely think the dogs can bring joy to your life, and of course, they make me be in the present too when I'm frustrated. And I got a lot of stuff going on with the book and on social media. I try to not stay too deep into that rabbit hole. So if I don't respond, I apologize. When I am, they can get me out of that world. They nudge me, feed me, or hey man, and I see the dog and they live in the present. They teach me to live in the present. They don't think about what happened 5 minutes ago. They don't think about the future. They're like, hey, let's go play in the water. It's pretty much what they tell me all the time. And they get me out of my phone, and then they do. Like, hey, I want to go play. I'm like, all right, let's go enjoy life. And you can use that with your dogs. You can use that with your family. You can use that with your coworkers, that being present thing in the moment and having responsibility for a dog. I don't know. I guess, yeah, I think dogs.
Yeah, we got another $5 super chat out there saying definitely they can tell that you love your dogs. One part of the book that I guess I never really thought about this. When you said it, it hit me. I was like, oh, hell, I didn't even think about that. But through all these training times that you're doing for build-ups or whatever, you made a comment that the dogs never realize they're training. Even when they're attacking the guy with the big sleeve or whatever, every situation, that dog, in their mind, everything's live, everything's real. They don't realize they're training, and that's fast. I never would have thought of that, because when you're out there, when we're doing a workup or we're training, whatever, we know that we got to put work into this, but we know that it's a training exercise. For the dogs, every day is the real deal, whether it's training or downrange.
Definitely, all those dogs want to do is work. Well, they want to make dad happy. They're high energy dogs. It's one of my points of I'll go out and watch Max or read a book and read my book and think that these dogs are awesome. And I want a Malinois or a Shepherd or any of these high energy dogs, a Husky. If you have an apartment, you get one of these dogs, you don't put in the training to yourself for the dog, and you come home, you're going to have a different apartment. It's going to destroy you. So the dogs all these dogs want to do is work. And I have 2 of them now. And if I don't, I'm not working anymore, but I give them, they do things for me that I feel provides a service, and I keep them I keep their energy levels where they need to be. I feed them properly, and I keep their mind stimulated. Keeps me stimulated as well. But I definitely think that you need to do your research before purchasing any dog. I think you need to educate yourself, train yourself on how to train a dog. And then once you figure out what kind of dog you want, how the best way. And then every dog's different. Maybe your dog might love treats. I have my boy, his name is Axe. He's weird. He doesn't eat bacon. At least he used to. He's getting better. He would eat, spit out hot dogs, any sort of treat, definitely. He wouldn't accept. So to train him, he was toy. So balls is what he got his attention. Kong balls. For my girl, she's treat-based, so I can do clicker training for dogs way more high energy. These are pretty mellow dogs. These aren't working animals. They're Malinois, but they're fairly chill considering what I used to be around. Some dogs might need a choke chain, a prong collar, and an electric collar as well. Whatever your temperament of your dog, whatever your dog's titration level is what we called it. And it's on you to use these tools, is what we call them, to the best of your ability, and to train the dog to paint a clear picture, the clearest picture possible for your dog. And if you abuse one of these tools, it's on you. And I've abused the e-collar. Let's be honest about it. I've maybe shocked my dog higher than I should have, and I live with that, and I'll never do it again. Maybe going up to, instead of a 3, going up to a 4 or 5, and it's on you to do that. Or if I jerk the choke chain too hard, that's on you. Your dog's titration level, what it can take, what it can't, how much feedback it needs. You're just painting a picture for a dog. It doesn't speak your language. So what would the mom do? Right. It would nip its neck. Pay attention, get its attention. That's all you're doing. So when I give my dog a little pop on the collar, it's just, hey, pay attention. I want your attention. You're not listening. If I use the e-collar and I'm giving it a little juice, I'm not blasting it at full blast. And just you're tapping it on the neck. And I've made mistakes on accident, and I've shocked it higher than I should have. And, you know, I live with that. I blast myself. I put it on my neck and do it to myself. I ran my Doberman once and didn't realize that the concrete, I ran him in a wall. The next day he had trouble walking. What I did, I went and bought Vibram barefoot shoes, and I ran barefoot and in those shoes until I couldn't walk the next day almost. You know what I'm saying? It's on you.
Yeah, we just got an e-collar for our shepherd, and she's 11 weeks. We haven't started using it, except we use the buzz and the bell, and she's like looking around. It's kind of fun, but they said it's a good way to, like you said, get their attention, and if they're away, tell them, hey, come back, or and all that. And I think it's kind of cool that you talk about that. Now, I know Clover was going to ask maybe about diet, and I think it was maybe not necessarily about training, but actual in preparation for a workup for a deployment or something. Clover, you want to bring up diet or something?
Yeah, I'm curious about diet because, I mean, that's something that obviously if you go on deployment, that's something that has to be considered in everything, right?
For us, we just had our issue dog food, and we had the trainers and the people that ran that part do their research. I was just supplied with the dog food. These days, I'm definitely way more into diet, and I'm still learning. I wish I could give you more information on certain areas. There's raw diets, and there's different dog food brands that are good, and I'm still, I mess with my dogs and try a variety of different foods, and I also just go off their coat and their energy levels and feel off of that. I've tried the raw diet for a while, and I have different opinions on that, and I don't recommend any brand specifically as of now, but I think at least buying a decent brand dog food for your pet is very important. Just like a human, like if you feed your body crap, how are you going to operate? If you feed your dog crap, it's the same thing. So yeah, but I just relied on the trainers to make, or whoever at the command to make that determination on what food they were given to us, and we just received the food and we gave it to our dogs, and they did fine on it.
Yeah, and I think something about what people don't realize also is, now maybe it was different in the book. You explained it was a little bit different at times for you, but Cairo and all of the working dogs, they stayed at kennel. They're not with you at your house. Now, I think that there were times when the terms visiting hours didn't apply to you, and no one really said much, but it was kind of that loose understanding. But, most people don't realize that the dogs aren't necessarily with a handler 24. They don't live with them all the time. So I know that you said that you would get them every now and then, and he have a steak dinner, and he knew when he was going to get a steak dinner and all that stuff. So I think that's pretty awesome. But there's a lot of stuff that maybe people don't realize, that there is a kennel. They have trainers. They have people. I'm assuming that they live a pretty good life inside that kennel. Do they not?
Oh, yeah. When I had to hand Cairo back off, and he was a spare dog, he was staying in the family. The person that I gave him to, he was a master at arms. I knew he was in very good hands, and I also have to separate myself because that bond me and Cairo grew together is pretty strong. So I need him to listen to other people, so I had to separate. It was not the easiest thing to do, but I knew that my buddies were like, he's over there with him. He's just fine. He's being well taken care of, and they are well taken care of. It would be nice to take home the dogs every night, and on training trips, the dog was always with me. He was in the hotel on the trip. Cairo was by my side at all times. He was even in the air with me when we were skydiving. He's always there. Right. But when we get back home, there's a kennel, and he stays in that kennel. Sometimes I get away, especially in the beginning, with bringing him home, especially after, he got shot, fed him some steak. I felt like he deserved it. And then after a certain mission, he gave him steak. It's pretty cool. But there are certain dogs that should not have been taken home that were taken home. And to make it fair for everyone, just a blanket rule, no dogs at home. I understand completely.
Yeah.
Hey, we are SEALs. We break the rules. Rules are meant to be broken sometimes, and I did break them. But, to a certain extent, I was always, you got to pick and choose your battles.
Yeah. You brought up, and someone brought up there earlier about jump school or whatever. And I know that the dogs, they got to do halos with you and all that. So, do they have a specific jump school they go to, or do they go to jump school with you guys? And how early can you kind of tell whether or not they're going to be able to handle that or not?
We leave it to the more proficient jumpers. I was not a big fan of heights. It's one of my things.
Same. I hate
I
them.
worked with my dad building cell phone communication towers. And that was the worst thing ever, because not that I didn't trust in my ability to climb. It was my ability to, like, what if I slip or a gust of wind? My ability to catch myself within 100 to 200 feet is not that great. But when you're up in the air, my father taught me to trust my equipment while up in those towers. While you're in the air skydiving, just trust your equipment, and you always have a reserve. I still didn't love heights. Let's just be honest. I did my job.
Man.
I didn't push my luck. I pushed my luck on plenty of other things. On that stuff, I didn't push my luck too much. And there was guys they love jumping, and they were called sky gods. They love jumping. They could do some pretty amazing stuff in the air. So strapping a dog to their chest it's like putting a piece of candy in their pocket. It's nothing compared to some of the stuff they jumped before. We'd hand the dog off to them, make sure they're comfortable. The dog, with all the training we've done beforehand. So we're one big family. We're all one big unit. They're the uncles. They've trained. They've had hands on Cairo. They pick him up. They've hoisted him. They've petted him. Cairo's had the muzzle on him enough times, and then whatever the jumpers do to make him prepared and safe for the jump, they do. And they're so proficient, it's not even a thing. They're able to concentrate on making the dog comfortable. They exit, no issues. I know that Cairo's in good hands because those guys are pretty legit by then. And the dogs always
I'm assuming
seem to like it. What's up?
Yeah, I'm assuming there are dogs out there that, whether or not they like it or not, they don't do well during jumps. Does that take them out of the SEAL thing, or is that just for specific missions?
It would probably take him out of the whole SEAL program.
Okay.
Maybe I don't know. It just depends on if there's a job that might be fitting for them. Then yeah, most of the dogs, they're pretty chill and mellow. We had one dog. He didn't like going up in planes. Sometimes he'd bite through the cage.
Wow.
Yeah, he was a monster. It's an awesome dog, but you have him securely strapped to you. Everybody. You just put in the training ahead of time. So when it does come time to jump out of plane, it's not like, hey, I just picked up the dog and decided to strap him in. It's very well thought out and prepared ahead of time, and everybody's comfortable and we're proficient at it. And by the time we get out,
that's not the dog was jumping out either. So it's already been through. It's gone through its jump school as well. I'm assuming
it's been through some decent amount of training. They're pretty comfortable on gunfire, darkness, explosions. So these are pretty high intense dogs. It's like a SEAL dog. Hey, you want to go skydive? Of course, if the dog can talk, yeah, let's go do this. Most of the dogs, from what I heard, I don't know, I've never heard of a dog freaking out, but had the muzzle on just in case, and you jump out, and the dogs seem to chill. They seem to like it. I don't know. I never jumped a dog. I wish I would have had that opportunity.
Well, they all love sticking their heads out the window, so I guess this is just,
right.
A stronger wind.
Yep.
Clover, you got a question out there? I think that Warsaw Patriot was asking.
Yeah, Warsaw was talking about, do the dogs go through different environmental training? I'm going to reword his question a little bit, but do they go through different types of environmental training?
Anything you can think of. There's a story in the book to relate to an ordinary dog. I don't want to give away too much, but it is a great story. It was that's all we did. That was my life. Being a SEAL, I partied, had fun on my off time, but that was my job. I love my job. And trained for everything. I thought I was going overseas to be a dog handler. I wanted to not let the guys down because that could cost somebody their life. So I really dedicated a lot of effort into it. I tried to be prepared for everything. That wasn't just me. That was every single person on the team who loved it. So we did introduce them to every environmental thing that you could possibly think of, everything. And then one of my first stops with the dog, we open up the courtyard gates, and it's just packed full of sheep for some reason. I didn't plan that one. Okay, all right. That was the one that I didn't plan for. It's like, what is going on? How many sheep do you need? There's all sheep. I wasn't sure how he would react. I was fairly confident he wouldn't attack a sheep, but if he did, then that sheep's going to yell. It's going to cause trouble. It's going to cause chaos. We don't need any of that. So I had to adjust accordingly. We'll leave the tactics in the end of the story, but it was one of those scenarios. So yeah, we do environmentals, everything that you can think of, explosions, even men in the team. you're doing environmentals with the dog, and everybody else in the team is putting hands on the canine as well and doing environmentals with them. They're flowing through the guys. Everybody's comfortable. Gunfire, explosions, fast roping, anything that you can think of, except for a courtyard sometimes. But put that on the list.
Fast roping, not a problem. What about spy rigging? I would imagine that would not be fun to spy rig with one harnessed up to you.
Yeah, I never did that. I did spy rigging, I think, once early in my career, and it was
without Cairo, without a dog.
Without a dog, and never got to use the gun
without a dog.
It would have been fun. I would have totally been.
Yeah,
I would have loved to. One thing I would never get to do was a lockout on a submarine. That would have been pretty cool. A lot of guys aren't big divers, but I love. Those work dives can kind of suck because they're all at night, so you're just staring at a compass basically. But I would have loved to have been.
You follow the air bubbles to make sure you guys know where the level is, or how do you guys? I mean, without giving too much away, how do you guys do that?
Underwater gauges. You just go off of your equipment, but it's all dark, so it's not fun. It's not like you're out sightseeing and exploring. You just have your equipment that you get where you need to go. And then once you get there, it's boring. It's boring as shit. And I mean, it's not boring. It's a challenge. So if you mess up, so it's not boring, but it is kind of boring. It's not like you're sightseeing underwater. But I would have liked to do a lockout of a submarine. I thought that'd be pretty cool.
Now, do the sub guys, I mean, if you didn't, but I would imagine the sub guys, do you think they would want the dog on ship or no?
Oh, I wouldn't want to do it with Cairo. I was just saying in general, but yeah, the dog on the ship.
You would have done that, yeah.
Yeah, dog would have been fine on the ship. No problem. I don't see why not.
Yep. Clover, you got anything you want to bring up?
Yeah, but you were talking earlier how the canines go to the kennel, when you guys are on leave or home or whatever. Is there ever any issues with like a separation anxiety or anything with them when they're at the kennel, or is that overcome by the great care they take with them?
They take great care of them. They're exercised multiple times, fed multiple times, or trained. Even if at the bare minimum, they're fed multiple times and exercised. And it's usually the people in your team take care of them. But even if that team is not able to do it, there's still another team that runs the whole thing that will take care of them. So somebody's always there to take good care of them. Yeah.
And they're kind of used to that. The people in that team already. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
One big family, in other words.
Big family. Well, they call it like we say. It's like I'm his dad, and everybody else is his uncles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. So let me ask you this real quick, and this is kind of after you were retired, Cairo's retired, for a dog whose life has basically been, whether he knew it or not, the tip of the spear and high speed, low drag his whole life. And then he retires, how was a transition for him going from crazy active training to just being did it affect him at all?
No, he was great. He had some things during thunderstorms towards the end that was weird. I just hope I gave him a good enough life because I was going through some issues of my own. And he did. He had a good. I bought a motorcycle with a sidecar. We had a boat. I just hope I gave him good enough. But yeah, we had a great time.
I'm sure you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Transitioning into, if you don't mind, I know that you talk about it in the book and all of that, and I've seen other podcasts and shows that you've been on and talking about the darkness that's out there with a lot of the guys that come home. No matter what branch, what you saw, everyone's got a tipping point, and sometimes people don't realize all that. For the guys and gals that are still in and they're getting ready to transition out or whatever, can you give some advice to them and say, hey, for that first month when you kind of separate, this could be some dark times. Is there something you could some advice you give to those that are possibly separating here pretty soon?
Yeah, definitely. It's I didn't realize I was pretty naive. I figured it'd be easy for me. I jumped right into a job that I drank myself out of, and it was probably the worst point. Got up to like 250 pounds drinking myself to death, and it was just a real bad place. I would say just have a plan if you can't have a plan when you get out. And for me, I guess I just having that job and just kind of thought your ego takes over. After a while, I just thought I was invincible. I don't know what's wrong with me. And it was my brain that was kind of messing with me. I had my own personal issues with drinking as well. It's a big, huge issue for me.
Yeah.
I had some stuff going on with my brain. And when it's your brain, I just couldn't quite put my finger on it. It's kind of hard to figure out. It's very frustrating. And, with some other issues, losing friends, and then putting booze on top of that, excessive amounts of booze didn't put me in the best mental place. And I didn't realize it. I was like, yeah, I'm fine. Look what I've been doing for the last 13 years. I'm good. Everybody's good. The only reason I can kind of look back and know that something was wrong with me was my hair fell out twice, alopecia. My fingernails had fallen out. I don't know. It was like they just got brittle. I don't know if that was from stress, but I know the hair stuff was from stress. It was after the loss of some friends. It's not too hard to figure out. But in my mind, I thought it was completely fine. And then I got up to 250 pounds and basically was drinking myself to death. And didn't realize it. Just so come up with a plan and then just if you are in a bad place, I say this, but I didn't just reach out to people. There's a lot of great organizations and there's a lot of great people that will help you. I didn't reach out. I took a good friend of mine named Jared Shaw. He's one of my best friends. He drugged me to my first brain treatment place through the Brain Treatment Foundation. And that was kind of my first step onto some more recovery. I mean, the Navy did a lot for me while I was still in, but at the end of the day, I wasn't able to fix some underlying issues that I was having. They did everything that they could for me, but I'm saying if you're transitioning out, you don't have good support through the VA, there are other organizations out there and they're good people. Reach out. And I say that and I know it's hard. And a lot of people don't, because I didn't even realize I was in such a bad place.
Yeah.
If you know of somebody that's in a bad place, maybe reach out to them. It might not do anything, but it might. And, there's good people out there that are willing to help.
Yeah, for sure. I've had experiences in the past, I'm sure everyone has, that's dealt with the VA and known people that have had horrific experiences with the VA with certain things. When it comes to the TBIs and it comes to the darkness and all of that, how did the VA help, or how was your experience with the VA when you first got out? Were they helping, or that you had to force a lot of stuff?
Yeah, my VA in the area wasn't the best. I know there are great VAs out there, and I've heard guys have great results. For me, I had some good instances or situations, whatever you want to call it, and then I had some terrible ones.
No, I hear you.
And I decided let's just say last time I went to the VA, they asked me if I was going to have a sex change. And I'm out.
Okay.
Last time I went to the VA. So I know there's great ones, but I know there's also really good people out there that are that'll help you out. I was on some brain health supplements, testosterone, and some other supplements to try to help with my brain health levels, and they're just not educated enough on that level, I guess. They're educated in certain areas, and they're not educated in, I guess, that. And I had long hair at the time because I wanted to grow it out after I got out. And wanted to see what maybe they thought that. They said sex change. And I was like, no, that's like, is it my hair? What is it?
Of all the questions, that's not the one that would come to mind.
I don't know what is it, but I think it was, because I was on certain medications and they didn't understand. It was fine. I was like, okay, we're not on the same level here. I need to go find something else. I actually had tore my bicep, hoping someone, but anyway, I tore my bicep and was trying to get that fixed. And but there are some very good VAs out there, and I know things are getting better, and there are people that are working on improving. But if you're having trouble with the VA, there's other people out there too, and that's kind of why one of the reasons telling Cairo's story. I get to tell history, I get to talk about my dog, and that's all amazing. People love it. I love the feedback. I get to bring attention to some of the guys I have to work with that are just amazing, and some of the guys that are now helping dogs, and then I get to help people with their brain health, which is very important to me. So it's pretty cool, and I'm hoping to build a pretty big platform to. I can't do this all alone, but I know there's other people I'd like to bring us all together to help.
Absolutely.
Maybe I won't be able to do anything, but I mean, just telling maybe my story once and helping one person sounds good to me. Point them to somebody else who's smarter than me and they can help. I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
No, I hear you. Andrew out there says 11 years sober here, Will. If he can do it, then anyone can. So congrats, Andrew, by the way. Yeah, it's awesome. I love the fact, I'm going to bring Clover here in a second. He's got a really good kind of interesting question by Midnight Range team out there. But before I bring Clover back in, I want to ask, I would say this is, guys, if you go buy this book, first of all, it's 100% worth it. But what I love about it is the last third of the book. In my mind, it's broken into thirds. You had the first third was the SEAL training. So if you guys have any questions about buds and what it takes to be a SEAL, there is a section of the book in that. And then you have the time with you and Cairo. And then you have post-Navy stuff. And what I really love is you were extremely brutally honest about what your experiences were after transitioning and separating out, which I think a lot of people may not be as forthcoming when they talk about that, because I think they think, well, their pride's too high, or they don't want to sound like they're weak. And guys, you're out there, and we'll tell you,
yeah, your ego is a real thing. And if people that don't want to stop working, I didn't want to stop working. My hair fell out twice in huge clumps in different places. And what we did was guys would poke it and make fun of me. And it was, everybody's a comedian. I didn't care. It didn't even click in my mind to stop working, because it took everything I had to get there. So people don't want to stop working, and I get it. But eventually the wheels are going to fall off, possibly. I mean, some guys can go a million miles an hour for their entire life. Some people can't. Sometimes the wheels come off. But I mean, I remember my literally hair was falling out. I'm like, yeah, it's cool, we're working. And it's just ever since they poked my bald spot, it was, now I just got to shave my head again. That was the only thing that went through my mind. So I get it. People don't want to start working, and then everybody's got an ego. Ego's a real thing. If I could go back to my younger self, I would punch myself in the face as hard as I could and tell myself to learn about my ego. Yep.
Let it go.
That's a big and don't drink.
This is a question I'm sure you get asked all the time, kind of lightening this subject a little bit here, but Midnight Range team out there wants to know, what kind of gear do the dogs wear when they're working? Do they wear protective gear, possible gear for others like medkits? I know what kind of gear that is being used. The technology is fascinating. I don't know what you can and can't talk about, but if you can talk about maybe some of the stuff that Cairo and other dogs wear when they're downrange.
I think it just is all situational dependent. Where are you at? How hot is it? How far are you going? What are you doing? For us, I like to travel light. I like to keep my dog light. If Cairo was needing special equipment, I would carry it. I think everybody did, and put it on him when he needed it at the right time. We didn't wear ballistic vests because I'm not carrying those for him. That didn't make sense, but for him, that just doesn't. There's certain things I'll carry. I don't want to get shot in speed. Once we get there, I want him to be fast. And we're working in the dark. I want him to be fast in the dark. I want to be fast, and I know he wants anyways. But there are certain times, like police officers, where a ballistic vest could save that canine, or any other equipment, a light that you can turn on and off, or anything. A way to communicate with the dog, whether it's e-collar, a beep, a shock, anything. So there's different equipment that we use, but I had a vest with a handle on it, and an e-collar, a choke chain, a leash that hooked to my hip. And we always had, I didn't wear goggles for him. Every time a helicopter would come in, I would just put his face into my chest and hold his face so he didn't get sandblasted.
Oh, really? Okay.
If I got sandblasted, I just didn't want him. I could have carried goggles. Some guys do. And what else?
I know the have nods, and I don't know if that's something that is new or not, but I know they have nods. They have GoPros that could be attached to see where the dog goes in certain situations. The technology's out there, I guess, for whatever you want to be creative with, isn't it?
Technology is pretty crazy these days. They got all kinds of different things you can use, but yeah, it's all situational dependent. Do you want to be messing with that? Do you think it's worth it? What's the environment? But we always carried definitely a medical kit for the dogs, not only just for us. obviously I carried a separate one specifically for the canine, and dog's anatomy is different than humans. So not only did I go through courses specifically for the dogs, other men on the team would also learn how to put a tourniquet. If you put a normal tourniquet that you twist, I don't know, people out there, it's a tourniquet, you cinch, twist. It might work for you, but on a dog, it might slip, right? So there's special tourniquets that we would use that would hold. If the dog is cut here arterially, we need to get a seal here. We have special things. You need to know that when Cairo was shot, he was treated like a soldier. He wasn't just treated like a dog. The helicopter pilots that flew in to risk their lives didn't have to come pick up a dog. They could have been like, we're not coming to get him. He's a dog. They came in just like because he's a soldier. When he got back to base, surgeons worked on him. They might not have known the exact anatomy of a dog, but there were certain things that they did that they still saved his life, but they had to put tubes in his lungs. And, there's courses, and we always try to stay ahead of the power curve on anything bad that might happen. But that was one of the things. We definitely carried a medical kit, and we stayed proficient with it. The night he was shot, it was just kind of crazy to see under such a terrible circumstance where I'm going to lose my dog. And most of the time when they get shot like that, they just don't survive. Sometimes they do. We did a dog that was shot in the head. His name was Axe. I love that dog. He made it, but a lot of the times the dogs just don't make it.
Yeah.
When Cairo was shot, it was just cool to see. I mean, one of the guys that came back happened to be a medic. He knew he wasn't needed. Such a terrible circumstance just to see that kind of teamwork happen to save Cairo's life. And not only from me and him, from the pilots, from the guys who called in the pilots, from the medic on the pilot, from the surgeons that got back, to the people that flew us to the vet, to the vets, to the people that rehabbed him in Lackland. I got him back 100%. So he was shot twice, and then we went on to do the big mission, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So it's just pretty cool to look back at that. That's a cool thing to just look back on.
Yeah, and I love some of the stories you were telling in the book, and I love the fact that you took a lot of time talking about the pilots, especially the helo pilots that are. I mean, you talked about them about being the tip of the spear. I mean, they're the best that you'd seen, and they, like you said, they risked their lives to come get a dog and take Cairo to safety. So I love the fact that it's not just your team, it's not just your squadron, it's the whole shebang. And sometimes you've got time throughout your career. You go across branch and all that. There's guys that are going to fill their roles, and it's pretty awesome. Andrew Faulkner's just ordered 2 copies of the book, one for me and one to share. That's awesome. You're going to love it. I promise you, you're going to love this book. And I really did. I really enjoyed it. And I'm not a big reader, but it took me 2 days to listen. It was about 9 hours. I think audio is about 9.5 hours.
My voice, man, good job. No,
well,
but yeah,
but yeah, it was awesome. It really was. It was awesome. I found myself just listening. I was like, holy cow, we're going to keep going.
It's like a Navy SEAL Marley me. It's pretty good. It got the reviews. Right. The reviews that I read online, I might not always check my Instagram, but I read the reviews and it's great. Like, as long as we told Cairo's story right, which he deserves, we have, and it's amazing. It's perfect. It couldn't be happier. And then I think you were breaking up a little earlier. Like, nobody on the team was Chuck Norris. I mean, there were a couple guys actually that they probably could have done it by themselves, but no, it takes like the intel people, the people that feed us, the pilots. The pilots are so badass. Those 160th guys, I just can't even say it enough. Like, the guy was like, I'll fly the crash helicopter out of here. Like, that just kind of sums up that whole group of men. They're just awesome. It took everybody to do that job. We couldn't just say, showed up. We get everything done by ourselves. It takes a team. It does.
Yeah, it's interesting because you're kind of going through it in the book, and obviously this was approved by DOD and all of that, so you could talk about it. But I think it was hilarious that you were talking about that. So most of the people, when it first happened, we heard that there was a helo crash. And the way you told the story, I had never heard that side of the story. It was like, well, he kept it hovering, which was unbelievable in itself to get the guys out. But then it was like, I can get this out. I can fly it. It was on the ground at that time, but he's like, I can fly this thing out. That's incredible.
That's incredible. That pretty much sums up that whole group of guys right there. Those guys are awesome. I mean, that's just one thing. They took us to a lot of they're crazy. We used to see RPGs fly by the helicopters, and they will fly in through some stuff, and they are no joke. Little shout out to those guys. I'll shut up about it now, but seriously, yeah, that guy did a controlled landing. They crashed, but considering the helicopter could have blown up and that mission could have went way different, he not only controlled landed that thing, crashed it, whatever you want to call it. He's like, I'll fly it out.
I love that. I love that story. That's a great story.
Pretty cool.
So, Will, I want to give you some time, and while you're talking about plugging the book, I've got a bunch of links. There's the Macmillan Books link that I'm going to put out there. Amazon's out there. Go check them out on Facebook and Instagram and all that. But I want to give you some time to talk to the listeners out there and talk. Do your plug for the book and all that, and I'll be putting the links out there while you're doing that.
Like I said, it's like a Navy SEAL Marley in me. It's a good read for anybody who loves animals, anybody who especially loves dogs. It's anybody that wants to join the military, be a dog handler in the military, be a SEAL. I mean, it's just if you want to educate your kids. We just came out with the young adult reader version of it because we feel a lot of it can educate kids. Kids love dogs a lot of the times. When I donated Cairo's vest to the 9/11 museum and was talking to one of the guys over there named Cliff. He's a real smart, great guy. He's like, a lot of people don't understand what 9/11 is. It's been so long, especially children. Good way to communicate the message. Items that children relate to, whether it's boots or helmets, and children love dogs. And we are hoping that the children can, if they want to kind of learn about what daddy does in the military or law enforcement, what working dogs do, anything, just educate your child. It's a good read. We took out it's not a gory book to begin with. It's, but it does.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah. It makes it so kids can learn it now. So far, the reviews on Amazon have been very good for No Ordinary Dog, and that makes me super happy. It's for Cairo, so perfect. I'm hoping the Warrior Dog.
Absolutely.
Hoping the Warrior Dog edition does the same.
It's one of my favorite books I've ever read.
Thank you. And I can't take all the credit.
Yeah,
Joe,
I loved it. It's one of my favorite. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
He definitely did. He did that story very nice and did a great job.
There was a story that, I'm not gonna lie, I got emotional listening to it, but it was about your and I don't want to give it away because people, if nothing else, this story right here sums up, I think, yours and Cairo's relationship. You got to go read the book, guys, but the story about when you went to New York and all that, I literally start ball. I'm not gonna lie. It was that whole situation with the 9/11 memorial and all of the stuff that went on with that. With the book, you're not going to be disappointed. I promise you. Will, is there already talk about another book maybe coming along down the road?
We'll see what happens. I'm just
no pressure, right?
No pressure. Honestly, I'm just focusing on. The book really is just for Cairo. So if I can spread it to it's doing great. So far, people love it. If I can just spread it to as many people as possible, that's all I really, really want to focus on right now. And then, the warrior, young reader, warrior dog, that's important too to me. I just want to get that message out there. And sure, if people, I just want to talk about Cairo. I don't want to talk about me, but I don't know what else I'll write about. People want me to write another book? Maybe, sure. I don't know. We'll talk about brain health. If there's something I can dive into as far as brain health or something, then yeah, but as far as right now, I think we have a great story. I'm pretty biased, but I just want as many people to read it as possible. He was my dog. I loved him to death. And the more people that know his story, his legend will live forever.
Yeah, it's awesome. Like I said, it's one of my favorite books I've ever read. And, Will, I know that a lot of people out there the whole time have been saying thank you for your service. I want to personally say thank you. I know that it was a job and it was what you did, and you probably looked at it just as that professional side of things. But there's a lot of people that as far as I'm concerned, you should never have to buy another meal ever. For no other reason, you were part of the group that brought closure to America, and that was a big deal. May 1st, 2011. I remember I was watching a baseball game and broke in. The President Obama broke in and was trying to tell everybody. But thank you for all that. I know, Clover, I want to give you some time to come in and ask a question or say anything you need to, Will, before we sweep the floors up.
I'm not following that. I just want to say that it was a pleasure to sit here and listen to the Will story and talk about Cairo. And I want to thank Will for coming on and telling that story and continuing to tell that story because I do believe it is important. So thank you for that, Will.
Thank you all guys very much. You just kind of reminded me of like remembering where you were. I remember where I was when the Twin Tower fell. Never forget it. And such a terrible event. Just remember how we all came together as a country. And then after we completed the mission, I got that feeling again, seeing that for that one second. It didn't last as long, but I saw it on the news, and it was like that feeling was amazing to see America come together again. And I can't wait for that to happen again here soon because we always will. So,
man.
And I think everybody.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that, but I didn't know how to. I was going to ask you, but I didn't know how to question the question. But knowing that you kind of grew up post 9/11 with the military and all that, and when I was in with C-130s, but I'm sure you guys were in C-5s or 17s or whatever. But when you were on the bird back, that had to have been like one of the greatest feelings in the world, saying, we got that fucker. If nothing else, it was closure for America, and you guys obviously knew well before the rest of America did. But that must have been a pretty awesome feeling, was it not?
Yeah, it was a moment I'll never forget. One of the best moments of my life. Knowing that everybody made it home back alive, we all made it. Like looking around and wow, everybody made it. Like okay, and we did it. We accomplished. Everybody survived, and it's done. And then it's like okay, now what? Because we kind of a lot of guys didn't expect to make it back possibly. So, but anyways, it was like that moment I'll never forget ever. And then watching the president address the nation with the body right there was amazing too. It was good. And then.
Yeah, it's it was awesome. It was a great book. Once again, thank you for all that you do. I'm not going to say what all you did, but all that you have done and continue to do for the awareness of Cairo and the mental health side of the darkness that people don't want to talk about necessarily. Thank you for bringing light to that darkness at times, and I think it's a big thing that and I was asking you this is my final question. Did this book serve as a bit of therapy for you as well?
I think it still is, like just telling the story about Cairo. It's never still easy talking about Cairo and all the stuff, and got to be very careful with what I say and be very respectful of the men on my team. But
absolutely,
these dogs are heroes. The men that I worked with are heroes. So it's been therapeutic for me as well. Being able to tell them and some of the experiences for sure that I've been through, it definitely helps. But it's not easy, and I need to be respectful of what I say. But I would say overall, yeah.
Fantastic. So, guys out there, like I said, go follow them on social media. On Facebook and Instagram, No Ordinary Dog Book. Go check them out on Amazon, on Macmillan Books website. The site, they've been out there, but I will put them in the description below as well. And I think they're already in the description to where you can find the links to get this book. And get out there, support as many veteran organizations that you can, especially if they're dealing with mental health. We've got some brothers and sisters out there that are in some serious need of help right now. And like Will said earlier, and we've been saying for a long time, if you think someone needs help, don't wait till tomorrow to send them a text. Call them or go see them today, because tomorrow may be too late. Get out there, be respectful. Don't ask questions that you think are stupid questions, but sometimes, hey, bro, how's it going? How was your day? Do you need anything? Do you want to go grab a bite to eat? Sometimes those are the questions that could help someone get through that darkness. So, Will, thank you so much. Guys, we're going to be recording a recorded podcast next week with Will that we'll go into different depths and different conversations, but be looking for that one in the next week or so as well. But Will, Clover, thank you for helping out. I appreciate you, brother. And Will, thank you so much. This was a great treat for me. And I want to say this is sincerely, I really, really love the book. So thank you for your service. Thank you for all that you've done and continue to do and all that. Thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you guys very much. I'm glad you enjoyed the book. And yeah, really, y'all have a great night. God bless. And thanks everybody out there as well. Hope y'all have a good night.